Hello friends, welcome to my classroom. In this Master Answer 1 course, we are about to complete the module number 1, molecular diffusion. In the previous lecture, we have seen diffusion through porous media and we have solved a numerical on Knudsen diffusivity. And we made, once we determine the Knudsen number, which is defined as the ratio of mean free path by density of the pore. So if we classify them as Knudsen diffusivity or molecular diffusivity, and there are cases where both Knudsen diffusivity and molecular diffusivity are important. So in this class we are going to look after a case study on solid catalyst and how we can make use of this Knudsen diffusivity and empirical equations for determining the diffusivity of gases in porous media, and we will try to solve a numerical on it. Okay, so get ready. I hope in chemical reaction engineering course we are learning about what are the kinetics of chemical reactions that is taking place in a chemical productions and chemical synthesis, and we know that based on in the classification of chemical reactions, if a catalyst is used or not, based on that we classify it as catalytic reactions and non-catalytic reactions, and that catalyst can be a liquid or the catalyst can be solids, right? So now if we focus on solid catalyst, what is solid catalyst? So it's a chemical substance, it's a material which is used, which provides its surface and it enhances the rate of the chemical reaction. Okay, and which means that the effectiveness of any solid catalyst will depend primarily upon the extent to which it can provide surface area. So the extent of surface area is an important parameter to define the effectiveness of a solid catalyst. Okay, so in general the surface area in meter square available per gram of a catalyst is important parameter, which is called as specific surface area, we can say, or surface area. Okay, so in general it is very difficult to achieve 1 meter square per gram of catalyst. Okay, so whatever surface area which is available from the outer surface of a solid material. So if you have solid material as the catalyst, from the outer surface itself, the how much maximum surface area which is available per gram is 1 meter square per gram is achievable. But to have these catalytic reactions to be more effective, we would like to have more surface area. How you can achieve more surface area? We can subdivide the surface solid into small pieces, so that we, with the same 1 gram of the catalyst, we can have more surface area. So that is the reason why people go for nanomaterials, all that, right? So particularly if you are looking at catalyst, so from the surface of the catalyst, if you consider a spherical shaped solid, from the surface alone you may get maximum of 1 meter square per gram, 1 meter square surface area per gram of the catalyst. But it is desired to achieve around at least 5 meter square per gram or a maximum of 1000 meter square per gram of catalyst material, that is 1000 meter square of surface area should be available per gram of catalyst. So how it can be achieved? It can be achieved by making pellets of the catalyst. Okay, so that's why we prefer the solid catalyst should be porous rather than non-porous. If it is non-porous, what happens? The absorption will take place only on the surface of the solid, which means that we are going to get only 1 meter square surface area per gram of the catalyst. That's why we want most of the solid catalyst to be porous in nature. Okay, so and these geometric properties of these solids is going to determine the global reaction rate. So in CRE you will be learning what is local reaction rate, what is global reaction rate. Okay, so the global reaction rate of a chemical reaction will be primarily depend upon the geometry of a solid catalyst which is having pores. Okay, so if you look at the example of nickel, okay, so it is an active catalyst for oxidation and hydrogenation reactions. Nickel is an example for very good catalyst for oxidation or hydrogenation reaction. What does it mean? It has active sites at the surface of its at its surface, nickel surface. It can readily absorb oxygen, which means that oxygen from the atmosphere can get easily absorbed on its surface, which means that it will facilitate oxidation reaction. If you have another reactant, it can facilitate oxidation reaction. Similarly, if it can absorb hydrogen easily, it can facilitate hydrogenation or dehydrogenation reaction. So if a catalyst material which can easily absorb or desorb oxygen, it is going to be used as for oxidation reactions and reduction reactions. If material is readily absorbing or desorbing hydrogen, those materials are going to be used as a catalyst for hydrogenation or dehydrogenation reactions. Okay, so if you take an example of fresh Raney nickel. So this Raney nickel is highly porous and which has large surface area in the range of 1500 meter square per gram. It has this Raney nickel has a high surface area and it is highly porous in nature. That's why it provides around 1500 meter square per gram of catalyst. Okay, so then 1500 meter square surface area per gram of catalyst is provided by Raney nickel, and that is why it is widely being as a catalyst. Okay, catalyst for hydrogenation reactions. Okay, and sometimes if the catalyst is not able to provide the desired surface area, instead of rather than using the material directly, we use catalyst support. Okay, so like alumina or silica gel, we use the silica gel or alumina as the catalyst support over which the catalyst material is deposited and used as the catalyst for the reactions. Thereby we try to increase the surface area available per gram of catalyst used in the system. Okay, well, I just told that from the surface of the only from the outside surface of the catalyst we would able to get only 1 meter square per gram of surface area. Okay, but whereas if you make something like, if it is a porous material, we would able to get 5 to 1000 meter square per gram of surface area available per gram of the porous solids. Okay, so that is the difference between non-porous and porous solid catalysts. Okay, and I told you about Raney nickel. I told you that it can provide a surface area of 1500 meter square per gram. Okay, and if it is not, if not, we can even make use of supports. Catalyst supports are being used. I told you catalyst supports like silica gel, alumina are being used as catalyst support on which certain amount of catalyst is supported. Okay, so there are various methods available to prepare a supported catalyst like hydrothermal method, sonochemical methods, sonication methods. Okay, like that. Now if we are talking about porous material, so we should talk in terms of what is void volume. Okay, because when I say porous material, say in fluid mechanics you might have studied about this, right? So you have packed bed, means there is void between the packing material. We define that one, right? What is porosity? Similar to that, if it is like a porous catalyst with mesopores and micropores, right? So I told you about that one, from one branch to another branch, how the catalyst pore can expand. So in this case, so we have to know what is the void volume or pore volume. Void volume or pore volume. Okay, because out of the total volume of the catalyst, out of the total catalyst, how much we have pore volume or void volume. So that ratio is defined as porosity. So we define porosity as ratio of void volume or pore volume. This is other name. Okay, void volume by total volume. So we are talking about solid catalyst. So obviously It is the void volume of the solid divided by total volume of the solid. Okay, so how to determine these pore volumes? There are several methods available. Okay, generally how they will determine is, we will have certain known amount, and what we'll do is, we can in a heater we can have boiling water or any liquid, and this catalyst known mass is kept into this one. Okay, so what we do is, because there will be in the void, in general, if it is in atmosphere, what the atmospheric air will be present in the pores, right? So once you put it in the liquid, what happens is, this air is displaced by the liquid. Air is displaced by the liquid. So then the sample is taken out, and it is superficially dried, means outer surface is dried. And if we take the weight W2, so what will happen, this mass, the air is displaced by liquid, so you have difference in weight, right? So that increase in weight, increase in mass, you can say, increase in the mass by density of the liquid gives us the pore volume. Okay, because the pores are filled with the liquid, so we are dividing by the density of the liquid. Okay, so increase in the mass is W2 minus W1. Okay, so there, by that way we can determine the pore volume. There are other methods available, experimental methods are like, right, BET surface area determination. Several methods are available, which you will learn in catalysis course or in chemical reaction engineering too. Okay, so I already defined what is porosity. So based on the porosity, and I also mentioned that, so some material, some catalyst material will be readily absorbing oxygen, so those materials are preferred for oxidation and reduction reactions. Reverse of oxidation is reduction. Okay, so oxidation or reduction reactions, if a material, solid catalyst, readily absorbs the oxygen, they are used for oxidation or reduction. For example, platinum. So platinum is a good catalyst for oxidation or reduction reaction, because oxygen gets readily absorbed on the surface. So that means it has more active sites. Platinum has, we have seen that absorption will take place on the active sites. Okay, there will be active sites present on the surface. So this oxygen molecule will be getting absorbed onto the surface. Okay, so that way surface, then this molecule will be diffusing by surface diffusion. We have seen what is surface diffusion. From the surface, one atom occupying, moving from one active sites to another active site, with when time t equal to 1, when time t equal to, this will moves here, and then time t equal to 3, it moves to next site. So that is surface diffusion, which we have discussed in the previous lecture. Please refer lecture number 15. Okay, and there are metal oxides, and we have metal oxides also can do these things, but they will be effective at high temperatures. Okay, so metal oxides in the sense copper oxide, zinc oxide. Okay, so even, because they may be cheaper than platinum, because platinum is costlier. If you look at metal oxide, they may be cheaper, but the thing is, they will be more active at high temperature applications. Okay, so instead of platinum, metal oxide can be used if you are able to operate the reaction or carry out the reaction at high temperatures. Okay, and similarly, similar to oxygen, we have seen what is adsorption of hydrogen. If something is favoring adsorption of hydrogen on its surface, and which surface diffusion can take place further, so they are preferred for hydrogenation or dehydrogenation reactions. So hydrogenation of alkanes, okay, alkenes, 5 to 1000 or 5 to 2000 meter surface area, meter square per gram of the catalyst. And to achieve that, if you are not, if your material is non-porous, so in those cases catalyst particles are agglomerated. We make use of pelletization. We make pellets, or you can say that agglomerated catalyst particle are pelleted particles. So pellet means they will be having the size of 2 to 12 mm in size. Okay, so what happens in this 2 to 12 mm size of pellet in the sense now you have wood is like that, we can make it chop them off into sized particles in desired shape. Okay, it may be in all small cylinder shapes. Okay, so such pellets are formed. Okay, what happens, these wide spaces are what you can have is there will be in this one there are two type of pores. Okay, so there are two type of pores in these voids. Okay, so wide pores, we call it as wide spaces or pores within the particles. Void spaces are pores in the within the particles, we call it as micropores. Okay, so we have void spaces between the particles, void spaces between the particles. So within the particle we call it as micropores, and void spaces between the particles we call it as macropores. Okay, so we should know what is micropore and what is macropore. Micropore is the pores present within the particle, which is called as micropore, and the void space between the particles is called as macropores. So in general, so in any catalyst we are going to have macropores as well as micropores. Such particles having macropores and micropores, we can say micropore and macropores. Okay, micropores, the particles which have both micropores and macropores are often referred to as bidisperse system, bidisperse systems. Okay, for such materials, okay, we are going to use two diffusivity, effective diffusivity. So D effective for micropores, and we are going to have D effective for macropores. So hereafter mu p refers to micropores, mp refers to macropores. So all these materials we are going to have D effective for D for diffusivity. Okay, so diffusivity for micropores and diffusivity for macropores we are going to have. Then we are going to have overall combined diffusivity, overall combined. This is effective diffusivity for micropores, effective diffusivity for macropores. Okay, so this overall combined effective diffusivity, okay, this overall combined effective diffusivity, which can be written as D. Let me write it clearly. So overall combined effective diffusivity is given by D, which is going to be which can be related to these both D effective for micropores and D effective for macropores. Okay, so actually these two can be related using a relationship given by, actually it was proposed by Smith. Okay, so based actually there are different model they have to make, right? Whenever there is micropore and macropores are there, so some model has to be considered, right? So whenever we don't have DAB value available, when DAB and DA Knudsen effective are not available, are not available, it can be predicted using physical properties of the pellets or the solid particles. It can be, so these two values can be predicted, that is it can be predicted using physical properties of porous solid. What is that? We can talk about molecular weight. Okay. It can be predicted using physical properties of porous solids, like molecular weight. Okay, other parameters like integral value, integral function kind of things. Okay, that we will discuss later. It can be predicted using physical properties of porous solids. Okay, so the usual practice is to find combined diffusivity. How to find combined diffusivity? So we can see that. So we know that we have seen the numerical also earlier. We can find first DAB is replaced by DAB effective, and we have seen that DAK is replaced by DAK effective, and we have seen how to determine the values for lambda, all that, right? So we have seen lambda value, how to determine, and how to determine U bar value, how to determine NA, right? And what is D effective we have seen. Okay, so that we have discussed in the previous lecture. I'll just recall it. Lambda value we found using 8RT by pi into MA. U bar value we have determined using, so U bar is this value, right? Sorry. So lambda value we have determined using 3.2 mu by P into RT by 2 pi GC into M 0.5. U bar value we have determined using 8RT by pi into MA, right? And similarly we use the NA value as D effective by RT dP by dx. Okay, or you can say simply dE by RT into PA1 minus PA2 by what is the length? It can be length of the pore, okay, which is dx. So these equations we have used, and we have even seen what is how to use D effective for combined diffusivity. If it is DAB effective divided by 1 minus alpha YA plus DAB effective by DAK effective. Okay, so this equation is used to determine effective diffusivity. Okay, alpha value, what is alpha value? We have seen 1 plus NB by NA. So sometimes alpha can be 0. When alpha can be 0, for equimolar counter diffusion, that is Na equal to minus Nb. In that case, alpha is equal to 0, because this will get 1 minus 0. So you will have this term alpha 0. So that means this becomes, so in this case, what happens is we get a simplified expression like this. What is that? We have dE is equal to 1 by DAB effective, that is molecular diffusivity, plus 1 by DAK effective, which is Knudsen diffusivity. So this is the equation we have, particularly when D by lambda value is less than 0.3, we have this equation which is applicable. Similarly, when D by lambda value is greater than 2 or 20, what we have is DAK, what happens is NB equal to 0. That is when unimolecular diffusion, for the cases of unimolecular diffusion, so what we will have is that expression. So when NB equal to 0, you are going to simply get that simplified. So we are going to have D effective is equal to DAB effective by 1 minus alpha YA. So that is the expression. Okay. So what I was explaining earlier. So this So this is the case when you have this effective diffusivity. So we can make use of this. So that's what I told you. So for this bidisperse systems, for bidisperse systems, using a random pore model, Smith, actually Wacko, these are the people who gave this. So we are interested in making use of the expression only. Okay, so this for this bidisperse systems where micropores as well as macropores are present. So for that, this random pore model, based on the random pore model, Wacko and Smith have proposed an correlation. So this correlation is important to us to make use. So this correlation relates your dm as well as, so let dm refers to effective diffusivity due to macropores. Let me say effective diffusivity due to or in macropores first, macropores. Okay, effective diffusivity in macropores, and let me say d mu. So where dm is effective diffusivity in macropores and d mu refers to effective diffusivity in micropores. Okay, so if it is the case, if we can determine these two using these effective diffusivity formulas, there is a relation to continue determine the overall combined effective diffusivity, which is given by dm into epsilon m square plus epsilon mu square into 1 plus epsilon m 3 times epsilon m divided by 1 minus epsilon m into d mu. So we have so de is a function of dm, d mu, epsilon naught m and epsilon naught mu. Okay, so here you note down, you are having epsilon mu here only. So remaining terms are capital M, which is macro thing. Okay, so this equation we can make use to determine the thing. So then what is this epsilon m? So we have already seen what is this one. Okay, so it is nothing but epsilon m is macropore volume of pellet in, if you say in meter cube, macropore volume divided by total volume of the pellet. Remember, it is a one pellet which will contain, you have macropore and micropore. Okay, so how much is macropore, how much is micropore, what is the volume? If you have total volume of the pellet given, and if you know what is micropore volume, so we can have ratio is porosity. Okay, so epsilon is the macropore volume of the pellet by total volume of the pellet. You can use in same unit. The ratio should be made in, if it is centimeter cube, it should be in same. Okay, similarly epsilon mu is the porosity for micropore. That means micropore volume of the pellet. Okay, but for micropore volume, so this micropore volume is usually defined per unit mass. Micropore volume of pellet, it will be usually given in per mass. So obviously whatever is the mass we are using, we have to determine the mass of the pellet divided by total volume of, so this data will be known. Okay, so mass of the pellet by total volume of the pellet. Okay, so this epsilon m and epsilon mu are to be used. Okay, and what is this dm and d mu? I told you it's dm is for macropore and d mu is for micropore. Okay, So we are going to simplify this equation. When we say there are can be case where only macropore is present, or if we say only micropore is present, in that case we are going to call it as monodisperse system. Monodisperse system. What we are considering here is bidisperse system. So it is if it is monodisperse system, we are going to have only micropore or only macropore is present. Okay, we can say only micropore is only present. In that case, it is monodisperse system. Okay, and that above equation can be simplified as dE equal to dm into epsilon mu square. Okay, so this is used for a monodisperse system, and if it is a bidisperse system, we are going to make use of this equation. Okay, understood? When epsilon m is not there, so this equation is going to be dE equal to d mu into epsilon mu square. That's what we have written here, I hope. Okay, d mu it is. Yes, we are considering only micropore. Okay, other case also you can write another mesopore system. Okay, so remember we should note it that we have what we have said, we have considered this random pore model, and this equation is given by this Smith, right? So we should know that a single model which is applicable to all type of the porous catalysts. We have n number of catalysts, right? All there are various type of porous catalysts are available. Okay, every day researchers also develop new catalyst. Okay, so we don't have a single model which can be used to applied for all the type of porous catalyst. Okay, because everyone makes a particular size, geometry, property, right? It's going to have physical properties are going to vary for different porous catalyst, even with the variation from the method by which it is being produced. Okay, because we are going to have complexity in the geometry. Okay, because of the complexity of the geometry in the pores of the catalyst, means everybody may have give 1 mm diameter particles, but inside is how the porosity is there, or how the pores are present in the particular catalyst material depends upon by how what method, standard method they have utilized, what are the conditions in which they are made, right? So that way it varies with various type of material. That's why we don't have a single model to make use model equation to make use for all type of porous catalyst. Okay, and one more thing we should know is here the diffusion is in the pores is going to take in the pores. How it is going to take place? One of the adsorbed molecule will be moving from one place to another place, right? With respect to time, I explained you earlier also. So that surface diffusion is what being taking place, we have seen. So the type of diffusion that is taking place is not even Knudsen diffusion. When the pores are very small, we may be having surface diffusion. Once oxygen is absorbed or hydrogen is absorbed during oxygen is absorbed means it is oxidation reaction, right? So if oxygen is absorbed onto the surface, it's going to move from one place to another place. Means one active site to another active site. Okay, and remember it is very difficult to understand and predict the things also here, right? But it can say that all these processes are, these transports are activated process. Okay, these are generally referred to as activated process. Okay, what is happening here? Once a fluid particle is adsorbed to the surface or on the pore walls, the adsorbed solute, either oxygen or hydrogen, may be moving to an adjacent active site on the surface. So this is called surface diffusion, and this is an activated process. When we say it is an activated process, what does it mean? As I told earlier, so it depends upon the characteristics of the solid surface. Okay, and depends upon the solute also. We have seen that solute A is getting adsorbed. So it is going activated process means it depends upon the characteristics of the solid surface and the adsorbed solute molecules. Okay, the characteristics of the solute molecules. What type of solute molecule is there? And the surface diffusion will be in the range of 10 power minus 7 to 10 power minus 9 meter square per second. Okay, so this will be the normal range in which the diffusion through these pores are going to take place. Okay, so this is the case study for the solid catalyst, and we have seen already about how the gas diffusivity are predicted, right, using correlations. We are going to see two correlations now. Okay, so we'll see first see one correlation, which is Chopin correlation. We have already seen for gases, we have Gilliland equation, Fuller et al equation. For liquids we have seen Wilkie-Chang equations, right? Similarly, to determine the diffusivity inside the solids, we have some correlations for solids. Okay, so this diffusivity can be determined given by Chopin, is called Chopin equation. So we have DAB is equal to 1.1323 into 10 power minus 9 square root of T into 1 by MA plus 1 by MB. Please note down this equation. So this we are going to make use to solve the numerical. Okay, and the total concentration into this parameter sigma AB, which is having a unit of Armstrongs, into ID, which is called as collision integral for diffusion, which is dimensionless. Okay, collision integral for diffusion. So MAMBR, if A is the gas and B is the product, means usually reactant versus product we are going to have, right? So for example, oxygen is going, carbon monoxide is coming in the opposite direction, it is going to be A and B, right? So that is a diffusion of Na is going to be in this direction, means diffusion of B is going to be in the opposite direction, where A is the reactant, B is the product gas. Okay, so molecular weight of A, molecular weight of B, we are going to make use. T is absolute temperature in Kelvin, DAB is in meter square per second. Okay, so let us write that. What is C? C is molar density in kilomoles per meter cube, and we have T is absolute temperature in Kelvin. Okay, so then we have ID, which I told us collision integral for diffusion, which is dimensionless. Collision integral for diffusion. Okay, and sigma AB, it is Leonard Jones parameter. These are the persons who introduced that. Okay, so parameter which is dimensionless. I'll tell you how. We have going to have a table from which we are going to get this sigma AB and sigma A and B. Okay, so this will be, sorry, ID is dimensionless. Collision integral for diffusion, which is dimensionless. We have sigma AB, Leonard Jones parameter, which is a function of sigma A and sigma B. Okay, they are in Armstrongs. Okay, Armstrongs. Sigma A and sigma B are collision diameters. Collision diameters of A and B. Okay, they are also in angstroms. Spelling is ANGSTROMS. Some people write AM here. Okay, correct spelling is angstrom is this. What is angstrom? 1 angstrom is 10 power minus 10 meters or 10 power minus 8 centimeters. Okay, so we should make use. Okay, and for a non-polar materials, we know what is sigma AB, how to determine sigma AB. So it is average of A and B. So we can say for non-polar solutes. For non-polar systems, we have sigma AB is equal to sigma A plus sigma B by 2. Okay, so empirical equation is there to determine what is sigma. Empirical equation for how to determine sigma A is, we have 2.44 into critical temperature of A divided by critical pressure of A power 1 by 3. So these all come from kinetic theories. Okay, so what is CA is critical temperature of A and critical temperature of B. Similarly, TCB is critical temperature of B. Okay, so you can write for B also for any material, no? So you can say TCB by PCB power 1 by 3, where CA refers to critical temperature of A, critical pressure of A. Okay, so and we have this collision factor, no? So we have a table for that collision factor. I'll tell you that. So collision factor ID, this ID is given from table 2, which I will give now. Okay, so this actually this ID is a function of KT by epsilon AB, where K is Boltzmann constant. Okay, so if for each KT by epsilon AB value, we are going to have a ID value. So once we determine the, it's like, so it is, we are going to have KT by epsilon AB versus ID. One table we are going to have. Actually, there is a diagram. We have KT by epsilon AB, we have ID value. Okay, so accordingly, this way also can possible. So we, from which is given in the form of table here. Okay, so which will make use. So where K is the Boltzmann constant, where epsilon dAB, what is epsilon dAB, what we are talking about? It is the energy of molecular interaction. Energy of molecular interaction. Okay, so for non-polar items, so we can find out this one. How to get this epsilon dAB is, epsilon dAB by K is given by square root of epsilon dA by K into epsilon B by K. Okay, so we are going to have a data of epsilon dA by K value for each gas molecule. So that way we can make use of this epsilon dA by K value and epsilon B by K value, and we can find what is epsilon dAB by K. So which we can make use to, if you divide by temperature, no? So what I can, how to get KT by epsilon, this epsilon dAB by T. That means if you divide T divided by, that is absolute temperature, divided by epsilon AB by K, we get KT by epsilon AB. Once we determine this KT by epsilon AB, we can refer to table 2. Actually, for this value, we will refer to table 1 and refer to table 2. So from refer to table 1, we are going to get epsilon A value by K, epsilon B by K values. So which we will get epsilon AB by K value. Once we find that for a given temperature, for a given temperature of T Kelvin, if we divide T divided by this calculated value, we will get KT by epsilon AB, and then from this value we can refer to table 2 and get what is the ID value. Okay, so this is what we are going to do now. Okay, so let me write what is the table 1 and table 2. It may be available in the textbook, still I am giving for various gases, table 1. Okay, so we are going to write a big list. Please write it in your notebook or take a printout and keep it with you. Angstroms. We have seen what is sigma. It is a parameter in Armstrong. Okay, LJ parameter in Armstrong. Okay, so and then we have epsilon by K value. Okay, so epsilon by K value in Kelvin. So it has the unit of Kelvin. This is Boltzmann. This is, that's why to differentiate I write degree Kelvin, but strictly speaking we should not put degree in Kelvin. Okay, it is a unit of temperature. Okay, this is Boltzmann constant. Okay, so we have a data for this one. Okay, please make a neat table and write down these values. So for various gases I am writing from the notebook. So we have for air it is 3.617, this value is 97. For benzene it is 5.27, 440. Okay. For CO2 3.996, 190. For carbon monoxide 3.59, 110. Carbon tetrachloride 5.881, 327. And then we have ethane. For ethane 4.418, 230. For ethanol 4.455, 3910. And ethylene ether, ethyl ether 5.424, 350. Ethylene 4.232, 205. Okay, and then we have for hydrogen for hydrogen 2.915 and 38. For hydrogen 2.915, 38. For hydrogen chloride, hydrochloric acid, we have 3.305 and 360. For iodine we have 4.982, 550. For nitrobenzene, the value for methane so we have for nitrobenzene for nitrobenzene 4.931, 539. For nitrogen 3.749, 79.8. For oxygen 3.541 and 88. For SO2 4.29 and 252. Okay, so this is table 1 which I was referring to get the value of Lj parameter and epsilon by k. And we have table 2. This value, as I told, we will make use to get ID value. Okay, collision integral. So table 2, please take down. So we have kt by epsilon tab versus ID. Okay, so we have a lot of values. I am giving just important which we are going to make use in our exams also. Okay, so you will not get the value anywhere else. Take down from here. So 0.5 is 1.033, 1 is 0.7197, 1.5 is 0.5991. For 2 it is 0.5373, For 3 it is 0.4745. 4 it is 0.4418. For 5 0.4211. For 6 0.4062. For 7 0.3948. 0.3856. 0.3776. 10 0.3712. Okay, so then for 20 it is 0.332. For 40 it is 0.298. Okay, so these are the values we will make use. So depending upon, so in the numerical we are going to solve numerical where you will be determining this parameter. As I said, you are going to get epsilon AB by K here. Okay, so you are getting epsilon AB by K here, and you will be dividing this substitute here to get what is KT by epsilon AB. Once you get KT by epsilon AB, we will get the ID value, so which we will substitute in the diffusivity expression given here. Okay, so in this expression, to make use of how to get sigma AB and how to get ID, I have told you now. Okay, so actually there is some modification done here. Okay, there is some modification done here in this equation. So what is done is, this value will change depending upon some of the parameter, right? So this can be replaced with a term, a constant term, let me say it as B, so that we can have a different expression. Okay, so that we are going to see now. So there is another expression given. So another correlation for solid, okay, to determine the diffusivity. In the solids. Okay, so how to determine the diffusivity of A and B gases inside the solids? We have an expression which is DAB is equal to, that is in meter square per second. So same expression is modified. Okay, replacing this and some of the terms according to this one. Okay, so this was given by Wilkie and Lee correlation. It was given by them, so we name it as Wilkie-Lee correlation, which is given by DAB is equal to, so this DAB, this unit is equal to B into square root of T cube into 1 by MA plus 1 by MB, okay, divided by P into sigma AB square into ID. Okay. So this equation we will make use. So what is B has to be told, right? So actually B is a function of this molecular weight of A and molecular weight of B. So once we know what is our system A and B, as I said, if it is a reactive system, it is going to be reactant, and B is going to be product, which will be coming in opposite direction. So Na will be in this direction, Nb will be in this direction. So you should substitute the molecular weight of A and B to get the B value. So B is defined for every system. We have 10.7 minus 2.46 into square root of 1 by Ma plus 1 by Mb, and all this into 10 power minus 8 is the value of B. So first step is, so we are, once you know the molecular weight of A and B, we can determine the B, and then substitute here temperature we know, pressure we know, sigma AB we know. Sigma AB how to get, we have seen sigma A plus sigma B by 2, right? That whole square. ID we know how to get it, right? T epsilon by K, we can get that one, right? Tk by epsilon AB, we get ID value. So that also we will substitute to get DAB. So first step is to get the DAB value. So we should define this equation we are going to make use. Okay, so this equation means let us write all the terms. Here DAB is in meter square per second. Okay, B term, leave it. P is in atmosphere, we have to substitute. Important is correlation, means we have to substitute the corresponding units. Sigma AB is having the unit of angstroms, that is again Lennard Jones parameter. Okay, ID is collision integral. MAMBR, molecular weight of MAMBR in kg per kg mole, that is molecular mass. Okay, and temperature is absolute temperature, that means it is in Kelvin. Okay, and just recall, I told you earlier also, so we are going to solve a numerical now, for which we will make use of all this. How to get dA Knudsen diffusivity, which is given by d by 3 UA, where UA is mean molecular velocity, which is given by square root of 8RT by I into MA. Okay, so that means D is equal to D by 3 into square root of 8RT by pi into MA. Okay, so this diffusivity in meter square per second. Okay, so if you know this dA, flux equation is dA Knudsen diffusion flux is equal to dA Knudsen into PA1 minus PA2 by length of the pore. Okay, so if dA is to be replaced with dAk effective. Okay, so we have to make use of dAk effective, which can be determined by experiments. Okay, so using this we will solve a numerical now. Okay, well, it's already 58 minutes. Okay, in this lecture we have discussed about solid catalysts, what are the different type of pores present in case of bidisperse system, where we have macro pores and micro pores coming into picture. We have seen how the diffusion will take place in the way of surface diffusion and through activation process, one adsorbed molecule, how it moves from one location, one active site to another active site. We have seen the definition of pore volume and pore porosity, and we have seen the different correlations available to determine the diffusivity for gases diffusing through the pores A and B. So we have seen two correlations, and we have seen the two tables to be used for collision parameter and collision diameter and collision integral, and we have seen an expression to find out based on the random pore model. We have an expression by Smith, which is used to determine the overall combined effective diffusivity based on diffusivity in the macro pores and diffusivity in the micro pores. We have seen the correlation, and using which we can how to determine the combined effective diffusivity we have discussed, right? So due to paucity of time, we will solve the numerical in the next lecture. Okay, so in the next lecture we will solve a numerical, and with that our module 1 will be over, and I will post few more videos on revision problems, which will be done participation by the students also. Then we will start with module number 2. Okay, so in the next lecture number 17 we are going to solve a numerical based on this whatever concept discussed in this lecture. Thank you so much for joining my classroom. If you have any doubts, please contact me.